Hello, Power Up Nation. I'm Pat Council, and I want to talk to you about how to set goals that cause you to thrive. So the first question I have for you is, did you achieve your goals this year? Well, this year's not over, so there is still time. So if you did not achieve your goals, today's podcast will help you to finish strong, and it's going to get you excited about really achieving the goals that will help build your magnificent life. Human beings are built to set goals. It helps us to thrive. It gives us a purpose. And when we complete the goal, we feel fulfilled and confident enough to go to the next level. Going to the next level allows each of us to further carry out our purpose for being here. And that's the exciting part. And if you say, well, buying a car or a new house, what does that have to do with me fulfilling a purpose and allowing me to go to the next level, or allowing me to go to that level such that I can fulfill my purpose for being here? Well, a lot of times we know what we love doing. We know the things that we desire to do. We know why we are here on this earth. But many times we don't follow through on those visions. We don't follow through on those inner promptings. And we ignore the fact that we are capable of doing, well, first of all, so much more. And secondly, that we're capable of actually completing the vision that we've been given. Now, when you buy a new house or a new car, if you set a goal, if that's one of your goals that you set and you actually achieve that goal, all of a sudden your confidence goes to another level. And then you start to believe and you start to expand your thinking, and you believe in the fact that, you know what, I think I can achieve this vision. It's pretty big, but I can achieve it. But what I want to specifically address are two things. I want to talk about why achievement can be difficult. And number two, I want to talk about what you can do about it. So let's just jump right into this. We're going to keep this short, and we're going to keep it short for real. You know what? I promised myself that from now on, when I say I'm going to keep something short, I'm going to keep it short. So let's get right into this. First of all, the reason why achievement is difficult, and you've heard me talk about alignment, aligning with the goals that you set. I've talked about this on some previous podcasts, but alignment, before you even can align with the goal that you've set, you actually have to believe in the goal that you set. So before you can believe in the goal that you set, it has to match your identity. Who do you think you are? So when you get ready to set your goals, then one of the things that you want to first do, and I've recommended this in previous podcasts, I have a video on YouTube that talks about this, the steps that you want to follow before you actually start setting your goals. And before you even kind of get to the part where you're setting goals, you do want to spend that quiet time, and you want to spend quiet time. And one of the things that you want to do is you want to get in touch with who you are. And if you say, well, I know who I am. Well, who you really are is actually based on your reason for being here, the purpose that you were put here to fulfill. What are you designed to do? Are you designed to teach some things? Are you designed to build something? So what is it? And do you see yourself working in that capacity? Have you embraced the idea that this is a huge part of who you are? So you want to take the time to write down who you are, because until you understand that identity, and here's the thing about your personal identity that I want to remind you of. Your identity does not have to align with the person you are today. Your identity is let's say the persona or the person that you're going to adopt or you're going to embrace. Okay, inside you say, okay, I can do more. And I've had people tell me that. They say, you know what, there's so many things I want to do, and I don't know why I'm not doing them. It's because you have not connected your identity to the things that you desire to achieve. There are people who want to earn lots more money, but they're not earning money. The very thought of earning more money makes them want to procrastinate, causes them not to do the work that they already know how to do. They talk themselves out of doing the things that they are already capable of doing. Why? Because the identity does not match. So what interferes with the identity? What interferes with the identity is perhaps some ideas and concepts that other people have put into our heads about, let's say, race or gender or whatever it might be, or just basic criticisms where people think they know more about who you are, more about your life, more about how you are supposed to live your life than you. You get to decide. So you have to take that responsibility for, first of all, knowing who you are and allowing that identity to let's say, connect with you. It's already in you, but whether it connects with you or not is a whole nother ballgame. Remember, I talked about the difference between the spirit and the soul. And I said that ideas and intuition is located in the spirit. So we get a picture, we get a vision. It's coming from our spirit that says, hey, this is your great mission. And then when it goes to the soul, that's the mind, will, and emotions, there's something that talks us out of it. So what can possibly talk us out of it is listening to someone else or buying into someone's ideology of who you are. Now, a lot of things that I mentioned, race and I mentioned gender. Sometimes people are so attached to a country. I'm from this country and this is who I am. No, that's the country you were born in. Who you are would be attached to your calling. That's a part of who you are. Okay, so, and that doesn't mean that you don't love your country. It doesn't mean you don't love where you're from. It's not about that. It is about, it doesn't matter where you're from. Okay, there can be 50 different people from 50 different countries. And at the same time, none of them are achieving their goals. So we don't achieve our goals. What makes it so difficult is we have no idea as to who we really are. We have attached our identity to what someone else has said. We allow, let's say, outside sources and forces to influence how we see ourselves, what we think about ourselves. And it tugs at our ego and causes us to defend. And, you know, one of the things that, and I'm just going to say it, one of the worst things that I think that anyone can do is defend failure. Is to defend being mediocre, is to defend that they're less than or inferior to someone else. Well, you know, this is how we are because this is what someone else did to us. You know what? At some point, you want to attach your identity to something more powerful. And I know I use my mockery voice, but that's not to make fun of you. And if it does annoy you, you know what? You might want to put some thought and say, well, why did it get to me? Well, perhaps it annoyed you because you are allowing what someone else, namely me, is saying that something that you don't like. Your identity is based on you and who you decide to be. That's what it's about. As long as you're not hurting anyone, you can have that great vision for your life. So when it comes to achieving your goals, if it is very difficult for you, then it is important that you spend time working on your identity. The thing about that is when you start to know who you are, what will happen is your brain, the mind, your mind and your brain will work together. It will be their job to keep your behavior consistent with that identity. You know, if you think you're a respectable, kind, loving, gentle person who generates wealth and who's building something that's full of purpose, that's going to help a lot of people, if that's your identity, then you know what? Your mind and your brain, they're going to work together to protect that. They're going to make sure that you're consistent with that. So on the days when you don't feel like working or you don't feel like doing the things that you know you need to do, you're going to do them. You know, and I can speak to that because, and I've shared this on the podcast before, I love working. Okay, doing the things that I do, learning, sharing information. I love doing that, coaching, all of that. And then there comes a time when I have to make sure that I work out. I've been talking about physical fitness. I have to work out. So I have to raise my identity to say, you know what, this is an absolute must, because this is a part of your identity. And without going into this deeper in the interest of time, because I did promise this would be short, the point is, at some point when I adopt that as a part of my identity, if I don't work out, then I don't feel good. And I feel like, oh my goodness, I've left something off of my things to do list that was an absolute must. That's one of the most important things that I need to do today. So this is what causes us not to be able to achieve goals. This is how it becomes more difficult, because we have not paid attention to our identity. With everything that comes at us through the media, be it through television, cell phones, computers, tablets, whatever that comes at us, we buy into that. And I know people see certain stories and they get really upset about it, and they go, wait a minute, see, it's one thing to get upset because you say, you know what, I think I want to do something about this to help this group. That's one thing. It's another thing to get upset about it because you are thinking that this is your identity. Okay, and you've bought into it, or you allow it to make you feel like you're less than. So if you're not achieving your goals, you want to ask yourself, what's going on with my identity? Do I really believe that I deserve to have the outcome that I desire? Do I really believe I deserve to have these things? Do I really believe I deserve to make the kind of connections that I want to connect, build the kind of relationships that I want to build, have the kind of health that I desire to have? Or do I settle for all of the outside information that comes from other sources? And in some cases, it comes from so-called experts. Listen, no one knows you better than you. But the only way someone can know you better than you is if you turn your identity over to them. And how do they know you better than you at that point? It's because they've given you an identity and you've accepted it. But you get to decide what your identity or what you want your identity to be like. You see, that's the beautiful thing. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. That's biblical. And that tells us we get to decide. And whatever is in my heart, whatever is in my heart, it becomes a vision that I can see, and eventually it becomes acceptable because it is now my identity. See, once something gets in your heart, it is a part of your identity. Now, there's a lot more to say on this, but as I said, we're keeping it short. And I want to kind of talk about a little bit more about what you can do about this. And as I said, take the time, spend some quiet time, and really write out what you think your identity is now, or what you want your identity to be. When you can shift your identity, all of a sudden your brain and your mind, it starts to work with you. You start to get ideas on how to make this happen. And they keep coming because you're following through. And you're excited about following through because you have shifted your identity. There's some people that don't want to shift their identity. They want to make excuses as to why they're not achieving and whose fault it is, or that someone said something that hurt their feelings and that kind of thing. Listen, people say things that will perhaps hurt your feelings. People have said things that would hurt my feelings, but at some point, I make a decision. Okay, is what they're saying true? All right, if it's true, then I'll decide if I want to make a change. I can even decide not to make a change. I can decide it's true, but I like me like I am, and I'm not changing. Or I can decide, you know what? The thing that I'm refusing to change is preventing me from growing. So, all right, it hurt my feelings, harsh lesson, but I'm going to take the lesson and I'm going to adjust my identity. I'm going to make an identity shift. Add it to the overall picture of who I am. Okay. Now, when I say who I am, first it starts with a desire to be. And then you become that by saying I am. So if you want to be wealthy, you have to speak it. And there are different schools of thoughts out there about affirmations. People say, well, affirmations don't work. No, affirmations, the only reason they don't work is because the person they have no feeling behind the affirmation. They've copied someone else's affirmation and they're saying it as if it's theirs. It has not attached itself to that person's identity. So as a result, affirmations don't work. The other thing is, again, when they say an affirmation, for example, they say, I'm a millionaire, and they go, yeah, I know I'm not a millionaire. So they're talking themselves out of what exists. See, the money to become, whatever it takes for you to become a millionaire, money, it already exists. You just have not accepted it. And you said, well, I'll accept it. I'll take it. You know how you don't accept something? By not doing what it takes to get it. By not. For example, if I get hungry and if I'm sitting in a different room and I have to go to the refrigerator, well, the only way I'm going to get the food and accept it is I have to actually go and get it. My identity says one of two things. Yeah, okay, you're hungry, but you have to choose something healthy. Or it says, yeah, you're hungry, but let's get us some junk food or some processed food. Now, I don't have any processed foods in my refrigerator at this point in time because I made it a point not to do that. But this is just a hypothetical. So the point that I'm making, if you have to accept something, and you accept it by doing the work, you accept it by taking the action. You take the action by actually first adopting the right identity that will allow you to follow through. When you adopt the right identity, your brain will not fight you. Your brain will work in your favor. Okay. It becomes easier. Okay. And notice I said it becomes easier because here's my caveat as we start to wrap up. The caveat is that even though you would adopt a new identity that allows you to achieve the goals that you set, because these are new goals you've never achieved. And by the way, to achieve a goal you've never achieved, yes, you must make a shift in your identity. And so in order for you to even kind of make that shift, you've got to start somewhere. You've got to know where it is you want to go. So with that being said, because I don't want to get ahead of myself and share too much, I'm going to talk a little bit about the identity, about connecting with your tribe, and how they can actually affect the identity you truly want to have. I'll be talking about that this week. I'll be talking a little bit about gratitude because this is the week to celebrate Thanksgiving. And so, but I want to leave you with this. I would say pick an identity that you want to build on. Okay. And since I've been talking about, becoming more physically fit and that kind of thing, that would be an identity for me, that one of the ones that I want to build on. And you can have wealth. You want to have more wealth. You can pick whatever it is you want and say, okay, I'm going to add this to a part of my identity. I can tell you that before, when I wasn't making any money, it's because I didn't see myself doing so. I thought my money came from, other places. Okay. And what I mean by other places, a job, and I had to hold on to that job for dear life. And of course, at one point, I was in the military. The first time I ever had a job, by the way, was before I went into the military. So, and so this was my growth process. Okay. And I thought, okay, I need to get a job because if I don't, I'm going to starve. And then I went into the military. And then all of a sudden I realized that, wait a minute, I could start my own business. I could first become an independent contractor, which is what a lot of realtors are, unless they start their own company. So before I built my own company, independent contractor, then opened my own real estate company. And of course, Power Up Nation. And somewhere in between there, I did multi-level marketing. The point that I'm making is in order for me to excel in any of those areas or to be successful in any of those areas that allowed me to step up to the next level, I had to adopt a way of thinking. And as we start to wrap up, I just want to use one last example when it comes to identity, because this one is so clear. A lot of times when people are military, so if like Army soldiers, they're soldiers. Okay, once you leave the military, now you are a veteran. That becomes a part of your identity. And I always tell people who are interested in building a business, listen, you must think that you're an entrepreneur who used to be in the military. It does not mean you're not a veteran, but you need to level up, so to speak, on your identity. That's a quick example. So with that being said, we're going to have more coming on. I'm going to talk more about your identity and how you can build on that identity and the tribe that you want to connect to, and building the right tribe so that they don't talk you out of the identity that will allow you to fulfill your purpose for being here. Listen, you guys, I want you to have a magnificent day and do life with power, because you are built by design to win. And by the way, that winning spirit, it is rooted in your identity.